All right, so let's try this again. Good morning. I'm Joshua Betancourt, and I wanted to get on and talk a little bit about the value of a disciplined practice. I think this is an important neurolinguistic programming concept, and yeah, I thought it would be useful to whoever is out there paying attention to the channel and taking advantage of some of this content. So this is Paradigm Shifting. It's a platform and a channel that I created in order to kind of just support the people who are connected with me and give them kind of an expanded view of the potential of how they can enhance their lives, their relationships, and their goals. So yeah, let's do it. So welcome and happy Tuesday. I'm Joshua Betancourt, and I'm really grateful for everyone taking the time to check out the content. The topic of today's talk is the value of a disciplined practice. And I think that this has some kind of far-reaching effects that really impact us at a subconscious level that most people aren't necessarily aware of. But I wanted to give a couple of examples and talk a little bit about, why this is so important. There's often the saying that's heard, especially when it comes to like personal relationships and challenges related to personal relationships. And that saying is, an individual can't see the forest for the trees. Meaning that, in circumstances where we're not necessarily attached to the experience itself, we have a broader perspective and a higher degree of cognitive functioning that's available to us because we're not connected to the outcome. And so like if your friend's going through a breakup, you can usually see kind of pretty clearly the dynamics of why that's happening in the relationship, right? As long as you have kind of adequate information and they're telling you about their experience. And you can come to some pretty powerful conclusions. However, if you're the individual that's in that breakup, right, there's so many other factors that are taking place, right? Because you're kind of committed to this idea that you already have in your mind of the expected outcome, the outcome expectation that you have. And because of that, it'll influence kind of your ability to cognitively and clearly process the experience, right? There's emotional attachments, there's mental attachments, there's stressors that are attached to it, right? A lot of different things are attached to you being in that experience directly. And so you might not necessarily make the same decisions that you would give as a recommendation to someone that you cared about and were supporting in the outcome that they're hoping for. And this is really prevalent in the special forces. So, one of the things that is really ingrained and trained into special forces is that the neuro-associative conditioning that I was talking about, right? It's that, they practice consistently within environments that are replicating high stress. And they're doing that over and over and over again. And the reason that they're doing that is so that when they're in a live example or a live scenario, that they've conditioned themselves into a state of being able to process and make decisions and have cognitive responses that doesn't necessarily take into account all of the stressors that are coming in. And this is essentially why a disciplined practice is so important. And when I say disciplined practice, I mean it in a way that applies to any area of interest in your life, right? For me, a lot of the talks and a lot of the things that I talk about are really internal development, right? Spiritual development, personal development, right? Kind of emotional management, thought management, right? So all of those things really become enhanced when I am putting myself in a situation where I can consistently practice those aspects of what it is that I'm trying to develop within myself, right? The more that I meditate, the more that I find myself at peace and balance, the more familiar that state becomes to me. And the more familiar that state becomes, the more consistently I experience that as, an aspect or an example of my life. And the more that becomes an experience for me in my life, the more that I condition that into my self-concept, the way that I perceive myself, and oddly enough, into the response that I have whenever I experience something that's turbulent or disruptive in some way. A few months back, more than a few months back, I was interacting with, in a relationship, and the woman, she got very upset. And in that exchange, I remained so calm, right? I was just, really in a place of I was receptive and listening and very, very calm. And she noticed and mentioned it a few days later after that exchange. And she was like, it was really incredible how you didn't get upset and that you didn't lose your balance. You didn't you didn't raise your voice. You didn't get frustrated. You just stayed really, really calm. And I noticed that in that exchange, and I really appreciated it. And she sincerely appreciated it. And part of that is, how much work are you doing from a conditioning standpoint to really embody and then be an expression of this ideal that you have. And that can be applied to anything. It can be applied to the level of focus that you have in your career, right? Are you kind of taking time to consciously practice how it is that you plan to show up or you intend to show up, and then, revisiting that and recreating that and future pacing it in your internal work, so that when the situation presents itself in the real world, that you already have a model to follow, right? You already have this kind of understanding of, who it is that you're going to be and how it is that you're going to show up. And you've basically pre-practiced, you've pre-practiced the version of yourself that you want to be in those circumstances and situations that might be stressors, right? They might be, challenging. There may be kind of some obstructions or some distortions in those experiences. And so this is what I think is extremely important from the perspective of a practice, right? Is, visualizing and envisioning situations that would normally be high stress, and then deciding, what is it that I'm going to use as a response? What is it within my character that is going to show up and take precedence, so that the distortions or frustration or confusion or anger doesn't impact me in the way that it would have had I been subconscious about it, right? Had it been a subconscious response. At this point, we've kind of established ourselves in the way that, we're being very intentional in the way that we communicate, in the way that we listen, right? In the way that we influence the experience altogether. And the more that you do it, the better that you become. And that's why discipline is so important. The other thing that I want to say is, I have a mentor and someone that I hold in high regard. As we were going through the Kabbalah last year, discipline came up as one of the points, topics of conversation during that experience. And one of the things that was shared is that discipline is self-love. And when she said that, I thought, wow, it was like a paradigm shift for me. It was just this massive opening, in the sense that, when you're disciplined about yourself and your life, right, that is essentially an expression of you being committed to loving yourself. Because discipline is basically the commitment to doing what is difficult, right? It's and following through the actions and activities that are difficult for us, so that we can get to this outcome that we want, this improvement that we want to experience, or this goal that we want to accomplish. And the reality is that if things were easy, everyone would do them, but that's not the case. And so the more that we can commit ourselves to the work that is involved to getting to that ideal outcome, to creating that thing, whatever it is, whether it's an improved relationship or a business or calmness or whatever that might be. That's an expression of me being committed to loving myself, because I know that I'm worth the outcome that I'm in pursuit of. I know that I'm worth, right, the experience of having healthier relationships. I know that I'm worth the work and effort it takes to be able to accomplish that project at work and potentially, open the door for a promotion or the next logical step or the next opportunity that presents itself to me. And so I love the idea that discipline is self-love. It's like, this is how we show ourselves that we love ourselves. And it may be a commitment to working out, right? It may be a commitment to eating better. It may be a commitment to regularly going to your annual physical exams, right? So that you stay healthy. Or it may be that you're expressing or practicing discipline in your ability to listen, to listen to your partner and to improve communication there. Because you know that the fruits of that are going to enhance and add value and add kind of this richness that you're capable of creating in your life and in your experiences. And so that is the talk today, right? It's kind of the value of having a disciplined practice and the neuro-associative conditioning that's associated with that as you develop that practice. Meaning that, the more consistently you do something, the more that it integrates into your character and your subconscious and who it is that you are. And so I hope that this was helpful and beneficial for all of you. It's really great to catch up with you guys, and I love you guys very, very much. And don't be a stranger. Reach out if there's any of this that you have questions about. I'd love to support the discussion and support you guys however appropriate. All right, take care. Until next time. Ciao.